I was gonna like plan a bunch of shit out, but it would kind of contradict what I'm going to talk about, which is how to learn, and sort of around what learning is. And so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to talk on this for however long this takes, because this is something I'm so passionate about, and I think it's so important, and I think it's actually being presented to you in the wrong way. So how do you actually learn? What is learning, and how do you learn? Learning in its essence is explorative. It's an exploring. You don't know where you're going to go. When you're truly learning, you don't know where you're going to go. You have a starting point. So you have a starting topic or starting question or starting thing. And then from there, you expand out. You go in all different directions. You have no restraints on what you're doing. It's explorative and it's fun and it's enjoyable, and it's a process which you're really involved in. You're growing as you're learning. You're learning more, you're understanding more, you're going deeper, maybe you're even understanding less, honestly. Because the more you're learning, the more questions you should have. You have a starting point, and then you sort of go off in these weird places, and now you have things like the internet, and you have many resources to aid you in if you want to learn something. And so you should be going off on all these crazy tangents when you're really learning. Like when I'm really learning, like my pages, they'll be just scattered everywhere. It'll be chaos. You have this big umbrella of things that have happened. And I might have just started with one simple thing and go off on all these crazy tangents. And, I obviously I use the internet a lot, especially when I'm learning. So I'm going off on all these crazy things. I'm reading from different people. I'm watching different videos. I'm reading different articles. I'm even looking at books. There's so many different things that can come from one simple question that you have, or that you want to learn about, one simple topic. You're learning about this one thing, let's say in math or something. Well, you're going to go off on a million different tangents there, because there's so many different elements that go into that, just learning about this one thing. And then, like I talked about before with studying, then when you're required to apply that knowledge, well, then you can hone it down. If you pick a topic and you learn so much about it, because you just get lost in this learning process, you shouldn't have things that you want to get to. You shouldn't have like bullet points. I never understood this. Like, today we're going to learn this, this, and this. No, today we're going to start exploring this topic. We're going to just go off and see what happens. That's learning. You find experts, you find people that have gone deep on this, whatever you're trying to learn about, and you listen to them. And then you think about it for yourself. You just think about it. And you have these aha moments, and then these confusing periods, and it's just going to be chaos. But once you've gone down that rabbit hole, then when you come back, it's going to have a different feeling to it. You're going to know so much more about it. Let's do a simple example. Like if you wanted to learn, let's say, about differentiation or something like that. Well, you look at what differentiation is. You go down and learn people's different perspectives on differentiation. You go as deep as you feel. Like, what is it really? You go into the equations and you learn about the different elements of the equation and how they all come together. And maybe you start going into, what is differentiation? What is it actually? What is it describing? How is it important? You start thinking about it. You start making different connections. You start boom, 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 boom. You go on this huge trail. Maybe it takes hours and hours, but you're having fun. So time will fly by. And then you come back. And now if your school is like, oh, you've got to apply it here. Well, okay, no problem. You learn how to apply this massive scope of knowledge and learning you've done to this one tiny thing that it can be used for. But the idea, let's say, of differentiation is so huge. There's so many things that go into that idea, and its applications in not just mathematics, but in other things. So you could learn about differentiation for like a year. Honestly, you could do that if you wanted to. And then you go into your test. You go into your test, you sit down, they ask you to differentiate x squared. It's going to be a joke. It's going to be, you're like, okay, I can do that for you if you want, but your depth of understanding about, let's say, differentiation is so massive now. You have such a big picture understanding of differentiation because you've explored it. And maybe I'm going off on a tangent here, but again, I'm learning right now. I'm learning how to speak and express myself. This is a learning process right now that you're seeing. I'm trying to learn how to get better at this in my own weird way. And so that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long I've been speaking for, but so yeah, really, in a sense, what I'm trying to get across is that learning is exploring. You have a starting point, but you don't know where you're going. Setting a limitation on yourself, setting a restriction on yourself is just not, it's hindering. It hinders your learning. If you say, this is where I'm going, then no, that's not learning, that's studying. If you know where you're going, that's studying. Learning is, you got a starting place and you can go off in any direction you want. Because that's fun. Exploring is fun. And I'm not trying to be silly here and say that I'm encapsulating all of learning by this one video. That would be a little silly. I mean, it would be a little arrogant, to be honest. Like, the full scope of learning things is massive. I mean, there's so many different ways you can learn, but in the intellectual sense, when you're sitting at a desk, I think this is definitely the best way to do it. So learning is really exploring. You're exploring it intellectually. You're testing your mind, you're learning new things, you're connecting new concepts. It's brilliant. I'm such a big advocate for it. It's brilliant, and I hate it when it's misused. I hate it when it's made into this serious thing. It's not serious. Learning is not a serious thing. It's a fluid, open, enjoyable, and creative activity to do, and something that you will fall in love with if it's sort of presented to you in the right way. Because I think I've said this before, but when you learn something, you also learn about yourself, and that's really so enjoyable and so magnificent. You get to learn about yourself. You might be learning about differentiation, but also uncovering mysteries about yourself, how you learn, what you think about it. You know, it's brilliant. But yeah, I don't want to talk too long, because I don't want to make the videos too long. Because I know maybe people lose engagement, lose concentration, but it's a little take on learning. Maybe I'll talk more about it in the future. But for now, I'll just end it with that. Peace out.